from the golden sun, born into creation, with love as my witness. I am human. Holy Father, Sacred Mother, I'm a child of the sun, and all the unraveling and all the unfurling through the shadows of self has led me back home. Yeah, I rode the dragons and I tamed the lions, looked in the mirror till it shattered and fell. Yeah, I am the hero that took the fool's journey out on the front lines with nothing but love in my gun. Came to carry the threefold flame, be a pillar upon this plane, rebirth divine, human template. And all the unraveling and all the unfurling through the shadows of self just led me back home. Yeah, I rode the dragons and I tamed the lions, looked in the mirror till they shattered and fell. Yeah, I am the hero that took the fool's journey out on the front lines. Nothing but love in my gun. Yeah, I was the fallen and now I am risen, and my cup runneth over. I drink from the Holy Grail. Da 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 da. I came from the golden sun, born into creation, with love as my witness. I am human. Koro oro kora tira kara soro oro koro tina do oro koro shite kara stakara. Holy Father, Sacred Mother, I'm a child of the sun, here to co-create a new world, co-create a new world, co-create a new universe, co-create a new world. Co-create a new world. New world.
It's pretty good, wasn't it? Let me get rid of that. Let's see. How's it going, everybody? We're just waiting on Yvania. I sent her the link. Oh, let's see. She says she's getting there. She'll be here in a second. Been a powerful day. Had a couple of pretty good shows today. And based on everybody's post, it seems like this is a pretty powerful eclipse. So it'd be interesting to see what Yvania has to say. We've got 24 people in the house. Welcome, everyone. Good to see you. Was a beautiful song, wasn't it? These shows, hey, what's up, Primo? What's going on? Yeah, let me just get this set up. Yeah, it's been a lot of powerful energy going down with this eclipse, I think. And it's a good time for setting a new course and transforming what we're here to do. I think we've all figured that out now. It's one of those days. One of those days, a little difficult to get on here and do the show, but as they say, the show must go on. It is a powerful time. It's a very powerful time. Gaia Man says the last 2 days have been very intense. Here we go. Yvania's here. I believe that's Yvania. Yeah. All right, let's get her up here. See what she's got to say. All right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Let me see what I can do.
Hang on. I just sent a message that said ask to start video.
Start video.
Yeah, I just played your song to open up the show.
Ah, thank you.
Have you been working on it?
Yeah. Okay. I'm having difficulty with this camera, so what's it gonna say?
Let me send this over to you again. This might give you some type of prompt that'll help you.
Aha. Thank you.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah. What's going on? You look incredible today.
Ah, thank you.
I'm glad one of us does. I feel like I'm about to melt.
Yeah, in the big melting pot that is.
I know. Yeah, we were supposed to get together a couple of weeks ago, but I couldn't do it. You know, I've had a couple of days in the last month that I just couldn't do it. And most of the time I can force myself to do it, but I think there's been a lot of stuff happening.
I couldn't have done it either.
Oh, right.
It was perfect timing. Yeah.
Most of the time when I have done that, the other people normally say, you know what, I couldn't go on anyway. So there is definitely a collective occurrence, but most of the stuff everybody's feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I had a great talk with your country mate today, Monique.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I caught some of that. It was on discernment.
Yeah, it was on discernment. Yeah, it was basically a spontaneous broadcast due to the energies and previous broadcasts. Yeah, it was an interesting conversation, especially coming from her, you know, because she is one of those that likes to stay in the background. But I think we're all having to speak up now, you know.
That's right. We are. What I wanted to share with you today is pretty much me coming totally out, and the human part of me is feeling a little anxious. When I say human part of me, I mean all of me.
Yeah.
However, it's just time to come out. So I have no format that I'm going to follow other than let's see how it flows. Hey, all in the divine flow that is.
Right, that's the Soulogy way. Just let it rip. Let it rip, baby.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm holding space. We're all supporting you. You're in a safe spot. So
thank you. And
you're welcome. Thank you.
So much love to you and everyone. So I think last time we spoke, I was speaking about my experience with meeting my creator and really coming into embodiment. And basically what I discovered after that process has been really mind-blowing.
Really?
And just a complete reset, rewipe of everything that I believed or knew to be true, that the mind part of me that would analyze things and hold on to as a belief or a way of being or a way of knowing that I thought was the way things were. So what happened was, through my one-on-one sessions, I was discovering, I was looking at grids and they were appearing as flat planes. So I haven't got very good diagrams. When I came out of this, I sort of scribbled everything. There's a, I don't know if you can see that plane.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was seeing,
that's flat.
I was seeing flat ones, and I was connecting through the heart with who was in front of me, and we were going together into these flat grids, and I was connecting with aspects of them within this flat grid, and I could see when these grids spin, they're in flow, and when I would find a grid that they were in, it was stopped, and I could see the aspect within, and we just our presence within that grid, it would start spinning and release the flow so that that aspect could flow back into them. This is a really large subject, and I'll try and not confuse everyone, but that is one part of like what I'm talking about with flat grids. So
yeah, and take your time. We've got all the time in the world. So I just want to understand it. So basically, it looked like there was an oval. So this was an oval, and it was flat, and it was not moving. And as you were saying that, I guess because we're connected, you said in these one-on-one sessions, I actually saw the two of you go into the center where that dot was, and I actually saw that, and y'all went into the dot, and then it started to spin in a weird way. Like, didn't look like the normal human kind of just spinning like an old album. It looked different. It was like doing that. Yeah. So that's what happened. Okay.
Yeah. So that was happening, and not only in my sessions was I experiencing these flat grids, but I was seeing them everywhere. For instance, if someone was saying to me about an organization or a company or even a person, I would just spontaneously become part of that grid, go into it, and find the part in it somehow that was stuck, and it would restore the flow. It would start spinning again. So I was putting together pieces that we could talk about from when we cancelled our last show.
Yeah.
And I was all these grids and how they were interconnected and stacked, and the way that they form into one huge form, right? So it's kind of all dimensions, all timelines, all grid work form like a cube grid work.
Yeah.
And then they collapse into a bigger structure. And yeah, so one of those flat planes is part of a multi-dimensional, it looks like a cube to me, but it's stacked in all different ways.
Yeah.
So as I was piecing that together, I don't know how it happened, but it all fell into me like a stack. And I know this sounds out there, but I'm here to share my own experience of what happened. Everything, all of the grids collapsed into me. I then went through my own creator center, and I went out through creation as all aspects of all creation, not just my own creation, but all aspects of creation, and hit all these different grids. And while this was happening, I was in total, what I can describe as divine flow, total stillness, total nothingness. I didn't feel anything within my human self other than the experience of what I was going through and the vision of what I was moving through. It was like I was a current on a circuit board, going through circuit board after circuit board, through the motherboards, through processors, through the power source of all these things that were connected. So I was the current, I was the observer, and I was the experience all at once.
Mm.
When I came out of that, I was aware that time had totally stood still. I looked with my peripheral vision and I saw my cells and my light body coming back into myself. And I just was obviously, I mean, when this happened, when I'd watched that come back in and downloaded that huge data package, the only thing I could do first off was I bolted to the toilet and I just absolutely threw up and purged. My cells felt so too expanded. My mind felt like it was going to explode. I had a headache and I honestly just cried in a blithering mess because it was just beyond words to see that happening. Not only the experience of traveling through that, but to come back into my body as particles of me. And so the next day we were due to talk and I was pretty much like, da, you know, like what the can I say? Because everything that I'd experienced, all the pieces of the puzzle for me came together in that collapse. They just came together as one huge stacked puzzle within. So what to start with is kind of difficult because I could talk about this for weeks, months of each snippet of what I experienced. And this is something that hasn't just been building over the years. It's a lifetime culmination of communicating with my own creator, putting together my own pieces of that puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, over here, we each individually had an experience with it. She went first, and a couple days later, it happened to me. And I don't remember the particulars, but the thing that I remember, she said that happened to me, even though it doesn't sound exactly like this, but the part that does is that all the cells were activated. Like whatever it was, like what you're describing, if we just look at it metaphorically, like taking in the infinite whole or the infinite external and then pulling it all into the internal, all the cells were doing it, you know,
Yeah.
at the same time. And it was, I remember for both of us, there was some physical repercussions. I remember, you know, nausea, some other uncomfortableness, that type of thing. So what do you think that was? Do you think
well, it was a billion things, but the main thing that I got out of it, of what we're doing here, and, you know, it's been confirmed by my writing since I was 8. So I've got that, my own personal experience of that, plus my own personal experience of why I'm here. And what I experienced there was that what we're doing here is returning the divine flow, the original God particle, to this realm.
Yeah. So
And
when that was, do you think that those sessions and what you described with the flat planes and then stacked like the cube-like and pulling them all into your center? Do you think that was some type of activation? Do you think it was just personal? Or do you think it was a collective energy available?
It's definitely a collective energy available, I would say. I don't know whether, for me, it was a personal thing as well as it's time to get this information out there, because when I went through creation, when I've been going through these grids, working with others, there are aspects of us that are not in divine flow. So how could I explain this?
Just do the best you can. You're doing
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. I'll show you this silly sketch.
It's not silly. Wow.
Yeah. So this is, you could say this is a fold back of us, what we're doing. So we start here.
Uh-huh.
So this is what we've been calling ascension, I'm calling descension, because we're folding back through, back to ourself, back to our creator self.
And the blue dots?
Yeah, so what happens is when Prime Creator started, the initial, and there's more stages within this one, but this is just a tiny representation of what the split off is. At each stage of creation, it didn't just happen in one huge bang, in my experience anyway. There were stages. So that cell split off, and those initial, say 12 creations, then birthed their own creations, just like in there. And at some point, we decided to have a different experience, to create a different experience. And we moved with some of our divine flow. I don't know if you can see, there's some of those lines are actually, they have orange in them as they go out.
Oh, I see.
Some of them don't. Now, at some stage, because everything's okay in creation, that's the other thing that blew me away when I was looking at flat grids and then the entire picture moving through the circuit board. Everywhere I went in divine flow was affected, because there are areas within our multi-dimensional universe where things weren't created with the original God particle, prime creator, divine flow source. And that's okay. That's an experience that collective. So any of these can be a collective, and they can look the same as that. That collective decided to have their own experience. They advanced scientifically and they synthesized a God particle. And that God particle powers their creations. It flows in a torus field, the same way our bodies and this whole thing was one big torus field. So it's like torus fields within torus fields, and that little flat grid, when it spins, it collapses in on itself and becomes its own torus. So it's a small torus in between huge toruses everywhere. And wherever the divine flow isn't, energy is stuck. So what I gathered as I'm defragging all this, and it comes out at all moments of my day really, and I'll get more information about that particular thing, is what happened when we get so far away from divine flow in creation, when we advance without the original particle, God particle, pure source divine flow. It creates a flow that it's just hard to explain. It stops. The flow can't go through it. And for those beings that are aspects of us or aspects of our creator, because, okay, I'll get to that in a minute. When you're out, if you're in a creation where you have some divine flow and some other technology, you can become stuck in that creation, and you didn't have a choice before to fold back. Everything wants to fold back into its source. At every level, it wants to come home. It wants to flow back into itself, right, into that collective consciousness, then back out again, and then back into that consciousness, back to one. So what we're doing here, we are the original, you could call that those first creations that came, the angelic realm, the prime creator beings that came out. We are turning humanity
back.
We are turning humanity into pure
flow.
Angelic. We are the angels. The new divine human template is that angelic realm. We are in flow. We are embodying our God particles, and they are flowing within us, within our planet, within our galaxy, and we are restoring, so that when we connect to all the grids, everything outside of those grids, all the creations, that the torus fields, they will feel the divine flow, and they will have a choice whether they want to fold back into source through the stages too, because at the moment there's a stuck. It doesn't matter if they decide to flow back, that's okay. But creation needs a choice to flow back, and that choice was taken away in some realms.
So getting back to your drawing, I think I got this. I just want to restate this. Can you pull the drawing back up? Can you get the drawing back? Okay, so the bottom part of it is the original, let's just say oneness, original. It splits into two, and this is a very small example because there's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
So in the pink, is it pink? Okay. In the pink, as it goes up, these are still all the God particle, right? All the God particle.
In this flow it is, and that's running through all divine flow there. And as these collectives here, I'll call them collectives.
Yeah.
As they go out to experience or create on their own, some might keep the original. This is just such a basic thing.
No, I got you.
Yeah, they will keep some of their divine flow, but then that aspect, that collective, might decide they've advanced far enough and they want to experience their own creation. They don't want to fold back to source. They'd rather keep that time. So it's an endless time as well. Time comes into it as well.
Yeah.
Just to keep that experience going. They don't want to fold back. They don't want to recreate.
Right.
They want to stay in their own creation.
Okay, got you. So when you said, I don't know if you could see it. We don't need it, but you said some of these lines going out to the blue orbs, and we'll call that the blue collectives.
Yeah.
And what I'm getting from you is, as we went up in the orange collectives could be universes, solar systems, planets, and such. So as they start to go away from the collectives that are 100% inflow of God substance, then they start to go to on the picture, left to right or to the side. Some of them had dark lines, and some of them had a little bit of the pink in them. The ones with the pink in them were still using, at least to a degree, the flow, the God substance. The others were simulating and synthesizing, copying, or because of the level of technology and such, creating their own worlds, almost like lesser gods, basically.
Yes, totally.
So go ahead.
Yep. You go.
So I just, because I'm getting this, and I just want to see what you think about it. So if we look at Earth, and forget about the stories of the reptilian interference or the archons and all that stuff, right? We're one of these lines that goes out, possibly. We're one of these lines that go out that's simulated, that's synthesized, that's controlled and run or set up by these lesser gods. Let's just put it that way. And like you said, some of these collectives want to stay there. They don't want to go back. Somehow or another, there's been a call. Let's say that.
We did put out a call.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that. There's been a call. And so now you're getting some black pink lines going to the Earth Collective, and they're reinstating the flow to create a choice, for those that choose to go back into flow. Yet there's also the choice of those that want to stay in the experience. And this might be also metaphorically 3D Earth, 5D Earth. Both are okay. And the last thing I want to make sure that I got right, you said no matter what happens, it's always okay.
Yes, it's always okay. Unless it's on your watch and you are in divine flow in your own universe. Our universe now, this is actually a mirror. You could mirror this. So do the reverse. They go out exactly the same. And this is Earth.
Yeah.
This is us. This is Creator. It's all the same.
Right.
So in our universe now, all is in divine flow. So all those guys that are watching and have been waiting, they've been waiting for us so that they can fold back into us to experience freedom.
Yeah.
True freedom, because at each level of these, there's a collective consciousness. And we're all one in the one.
Yeah.
Always. And in the divine flow. But when we are out here in creation, we are not all the same. We are all individual aspects. We are one in the flow and in our collective consciousness.
Yeah.
We are all brothers and sisters of that one collective consciousness. Humanity is one collective consciousness now. And we are all brothers and sisters, but our uniqueness is our own. Yeah. So when I put up that post of smoke and mirrors, because this is going to be a little bit controversial, but it's from my experience.
Yeah.
Yes, we are one, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying we're not one, because we are one collective consciousness running the same particles of creation with one whole creation dream, creation flow. We all want the same thing here. We knew that when we came.
Yeah.
The ones that don't want the same thing, we see when we are in our divine flow, we see. Not everybody here is going to go through, they're not going to have the divine flow. They're not here for that. They came for the program experience and also to try to disrupt whatever was going to happen, but what they thought was going to happen. So not everybody is a mirror of you. And if you are looking all the time at, so this person's in front of me and it's triggering me, others are a mirror until they're not. If you keep looking for triggers within yourself, the flow gets stuck, because when you're in divine flow and you know that you are one in divine flow, there is no mirror. You simply are, and they simply are.
So just to restate this, okay, because this is good, especially on the heels of what we talked about this morning and experienced this morning, all of us. So in the endless end, in the endless origin, we're all one. In the experience of a collective, such as, let's say, such as the multidimensional Earth realm, not even, everything is not in that context. Let's just use people. Everyone is not a mirror. But in the endless end, if we go back to the original one, yes, and that will always be absolute. That's why everything is all right. But in the experience, not everyone's a mirror. Some are and some aren't. And now,
sorry, Todd.
no, I just want you to ask you. So,
In the original, so we could call this Prime Creator.
Yes.
Now, we didn't all birth at the same time.
Okay. Okay.
There's as this is pure flow, pure God particles, pure source.
Right.
As this creation decided to create different creations, and I've got blue here. You could put pink there as well.
Sure.
They're all collective consciousness of that creation.
Yeah.
So this creation here.
Yeah.
Prime Creator source will always be source, and we will always be part of that source. If we wanted to fold back to source, that would be the end of source's experience. So we fold back to one of these collectives.
And then go out.
There's more than 4. Some people have 7. Some people have 3, depending on where their collective consciousness, they were created within that collective consciousness. That's where they'll fold back to. So now we're giving everyone a chance to fold back to not only where they've been created, but for that collective consciousness of creation, whether it's out here or it's in there, to fold back further, closer to source, back to the original prime creations, creators, that angelic realm of knowing.
Yeah.
We don't want to go straight back to source as itself, because then we finish the experience.
Yeah.
Right?
So
start a new big bang or something, but it's not the game. The game finishes, it's game over. So we don't want a game over. We want freedom and sovereignty to flow back to source. We want to run that pure source flow, the divine flow, which is love. Right. We've been calling love something like an emotion, but it's really divine flow from that prime creator.
So in other words, you've got the original prime creator, let's just call it that.
Yeah.
Then you start to have these collective consciousnesses that were created out of the split of prime creator. And of course, this goes multidimensional, goes all directions. You're just showing one little piece of it.
Yeah.
So these collective consciousnesses are created. These ones that are in the direct line are pretty much 100% God substance, source substance. Then we start to go on these lines out here, where we're actually, I guess it sounds like that we're actually made in the image and collectively creating new collective consciousnesses, which could be solar system, planets, whatever. So we go into this, and then there becomes a collective within the collective consciousness that was created that might say, hey, we have the expertise, the technology. Let's create a simulation, or let's synthetically create, duplicate, and we create it. But because it's a little bit less than, if not totally not like source or like the God substance.
It gets more watered down the further it gets away, until it's totally synthetic. And when their toroidal fields run, the synthetic flow is so obvious, the way it flows, the way it runs. And it is totally disconnected from so many other things. It's disconnected, but it's within that huge torus creator field. So you've got this divine flow flowing around these creations that they draw from, that powers, not that we go into their torus field or collapse into there, but they take the power to power their source device that goes down into their
fields.
Now, do you think that I had a couple of questions. One is, it sounds like it's at least, I don't know what the right word is, but it sounds like, well, okay, so one, you have these, you said they weren't all born, so to speak, at the same time. Those that were, which is nothing about superiority or anything like that, it's all equality. But those that were born closer to source or whatever have a stronger connection naturally, come into this, let's just say, use this realm as an example, to anchor in original God substance.
Yes.
Now, in terms of what's happening in the collective consciousness, which we'll use Earth as that multidimensional center, there are choices to the fractal, to the aspect of the God substance. The choice is, what do you want to do? Well, I want to stay in this synthetic simulation and experience more, or I want to go back towards source, back to, say, the previous collective consciousness, or maybe one before that, to kind of strengthen.
Or having access back to, and back further to the original, just right back, because everybody had that access before we started wanting to create, before aspects decided to create in a different way. And it is okay, but there needs to be a choice. And you know, when this synthetic program grid work came over our Earth, it took away choice, really.
Yeah.
It which created a huge call to the angelic realm.
That's what my next question. My question was, well, you just answered it. There was a call, because a lot of people have had that experience dimensionally or in memory of being called, or they just know. Then also you said, so the choice, there was no choice, and this would also go to the narrative of those lesser gods, let's say to speak, or 1%, who had the secreted esoteric knowledge, followed universal law in a deceptive way by getting us to agree to the parameters of the matrix, by signing contracts, by, you know, agreeing to this, agreeing to that. Now, that seems to be, it seems to me that it's being challenged now energetically by people like you know, people that are pulling in this stuff from those previous collective consciousnesses. I wonder, like, those previous collective consciousness are the origin of our star family memories, or dimensional experiences, or dragons, or whatever they may be. But it sounds like it's kind of breaking. You know, like you were talking about that financial company that you tapped into, almost like you're a representation of these more these energies that are closer to the original prime creator, coming in like a microcosm. You came in and you
restoring the flow. Restoring the flow. And one person in their full creative flow affects the entire grid.
Yes, I
totally
get that. I totally resonate with that, and always have. That one soul can alter the entire grid, no doubt.
And what we're doing here, this knowledge and all of this is no higher at any stage than we are. We are the center of this folding back in. They're folding through us. It's not the other way around.
They're folding through us.
Folding back through us, because we came with the particle. A lot of us did. We came with the particle, and we've been some of us have been suppressed, but when you know what you're here to do, when you know the flow, that you are the flow, it opens, and every one of those consciousnesses above you gets to flow back in through you. You are the original, the original source.
So this is beautiful. So in the paradoxical construction of the universes or source, we'll take, say, dragons or Arcturians or fairies or whatever. I think angels, it sounds like what you're calling the angelic realm, is in a different category. That's almost like source itself coming out, or source's direct report. But now the dragons, the star family and such, the fairies, are actually, on one hand, kind of synchronistic guides or validation, validation aspects or whatever, memories, whatever you want to call it. But on the other hand, those experiences have already occurred, and they're falling back through us as they head back in their toroidal back.
They're folding back in one-on-one sessions when I was looking at all these different look in the body, like basic, this is a picture of emotions, thoughts, whatever. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's the same thing everywhere.
So it's,
I'd see into their immediate grid and there was nothing there. Then I'd have a look at another one. So I'm looking at consciousness as well as creation grids. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Collective consciousness grids as well as creation grids. And when I look at their consciousness grids and say that the 12 aspects or monatic or whatever, I could see that in their immediate grid, there was nothing to work on. There was no shadow work. It had been cleared and done. I can't see shadow work. So it would be an aspect of that there was folding through them that would be stuck.
Okay.
And they can't fold in until they're released. So you being in your own full divine flow will immediately access all of those collective consciousnesses, and wherever they've gone, you can access all of that in your full power, and they can fold back. So all I've been doing is assisting others as one. We join through the heart, we become the flow, we go up, we start the flow wherever that grid work is stuck, and they fold back through them. Now, when they fold back, they come with their own set of emotions.
Right. Shadow.
They come with their own set of feelings, if you like, even though it's not so much feelings, that their experience folds through you. And if you hold it, you hold the flow and you claim it as your own, and you feel stuck. Where is the work I need to do within me that still harbors this feeling? And it's very limiting, because you get into a loop again of something's wrong with me. I need to dig deep to find this. I thought I was done with this work. Yes, you were. You just need to allow the flow. Just keep the flow going. It's just, I'm going to be talking about this flow forever, and working with others, keeping this flow going, ways to connect with the flow, in the flow, as the flow. It just happens. So when we say let go, sounds so easy, but it's just a letting go. And that lady you had on, bless her, it was at Chelsea.
Oh yeah, Chelsea. Yeah.
I mean, she has it bang on with the flow of the way she was describing, when you pull from source, from creator, come down and through and around and back down.
Yeah, that's what she did. She went like that. I said, what do you do? And she said this.
Exactly. And there's other ways to move the flow and be that flow. When you're in Merkaba or or light body or whatever, that flow goes both ways because we're not impeded by gravity or other forces. Depending on where we are, the flow will change.
Yeah. And so, what was I going to say? Okay, so if you look at the picture, that the original picture, you're saying, this makes total sense to me, all right? So you're saying that when you look into a client's field, you see the same formation, and what is on the diagram, prime creator consciousness, has been cleared. I think that's very important because of the personalization that we all go through, and the critical thinking that we all go, and critical mind that we all go through, and have experienced judgment and such upon ourselves.
Yeah.
But we're actually the hub.
Yeah.
We're actually in the microcosm, the prime creator collective.
Yes.
Now, all of these other things, be it other aspects that were birthed out of the original collective consciousness, or even thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, I really got that when you said that the thoughts look just like that, because I could see a bunch of thoughts congealing over here.
Yeah.
And creating a collective consciousness that might show up, for instance, in the physicality in one of your organs or in one of your chakras.
Yeah. As soon as you notice anything, as soon as you stop to notice, so whatever it is the minute you focus in on it, it stops the flow. This can work positively or preferred or not preferred, and it will replicate itself, and then it will attract by its magnetism everything else that is like that, and it will start changing things in the flow to attract that blockage until it gets so big that you've now got whatever.
I'm getting a head rush now. This is a potential game changer.
It's a total game changer.
Okay, I'm just going to go that far. This is a game changer.
Yeah.
Why is this a game changer? I'm just going to throw this at you because I'm trying to learn here. So the shadow work has been the real vehicle, like we know when we clear, something opens, and it sounds like that fits right along with this, because we actually open up a passageway for these aspects that have been birthed out of this original consciousness. Let's just say the micro collective prime creator that we are. And so it allows them to start coming through.
Yes.
All right. Now, what you're saying is that what's been happening lately is you're noticing that the prime creator collective consciousness micro, that is Todd, let's say, is clear. Clear. But there's still what we might define as, well, it's experience or shadow or emotion or whatever you want to call it, that's opening that up.
Experience, because it's an experience. So when we used to fold back to our creator through death, we would go through that experience. We would have that quick experience, and that whether we went to the angelic realm or whether we went to another realm before we folded back, we would go through our experience of that particular creation to clear. And we just had somebody we'd fold back into, whether it was that whole collective consciousness, that we'd fold back and allow us to clear it. They, in their divine flow, they just take it, because we just need to just to be in that divine flow to clear. And once that's clear, so our aspects are coming through us, these aspects coming through, and they just want to be in that divine flow with those God particles, just running through completely, so that they can birth new creation, that they can have a choice where they'd like to fold back to, whether we're calling them all home to stay or whether they want to go out. Some I've cleared and they've folded back somewhere else by choice, and that's okay too.
So in other words, this is really cool. Made in the image. So back to the diagram. made in the image. I'm actually that prime creator orb. And I then replicate basically the whole, and I look like that diagram, and I've got all this stuff out there, which are each individualized and having their own experience and that type of thing.
Yeah, we're very much individual. We're very much our own individual creations and creators in divine flow. Some of us, some art and creation aren't in divine flow, but they're still individual creators of creations and collective consciousnesses of creations. So when that collective consciousness comes together, they're one in their consciousness. They all think, feel each other as one consciousness, but they are still unique aspect when they are out in that creation. So they're not all aspects of you, and they are. So when we see, so let's take humanity as an example, and let's see humanity where I see them now embodied in their fullness, in divine flow, as earth angels, as just pure love. When I see one of my brothers and sisters that are out there shining with their divine flow, because their little Taurus fields are running the same energy, that same divine flow, when I see them out there, I feel not only pride, I feel reverence, I feel joy, I feel bliss, because I can see them in all their shine, all their glory. And every time we come back into our center, we share each other's information, we share each other's experience, and we are so joyful. There is no need to be, oh, someone knows more or whatever. I mean, that is another catch of everything is a mirror, right? It's disempowering. If you see somebody that's in their flow and in there, you just know it. You feel it. You feel the flow. You feel it in your heart. And there's nothing wrong with saying, look at that person in their flow, shining like a star. That's what we do. We support each other in our collective consciousness of one.
Yeah, I like this. So, because it also changes the game in regard to we're all going to the same place. Now, ultimately, yeah. But if you just took one, like say the one, like this is the Earth's collective consciousness, and these are just three of the lines coming out, but we know there's many of them by the diagram that you had. We can accept and appreciate and honor and hold in reverence, because it's the same thing as these things are created and experienced and felt, then they start to congeal, right? Like you said, they're magnetized. So basically you've got two magnetizations going on. I'm sure there's many, many, many more, but in other words, take the worry out. I mean, again, if we try to bring this down to layman's terms in the human mind and the human brain, is some people, as Franco Di Carlo talked about, there's a 3D Earth and there's a 5D Earth, but they're both okay.
Yeah, totally.
Fine. So it's not about pulling people. You know, magnetization is not a forced pulling. You know, it is a natural coming together. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So that's all. You know, we're all going to go where
okay.
everything
is okay. Yeah. When you know your oneness, when you become your oneness, when you fold, when everything folds back into you and you allow that flow and you become that flow. From that place of your own oneness, you know the flow of your collective consciousness of humanity, this new creation, this new collective consciousness of humanity. You know it as one because you know the one within you. Mm-hmm. You know the one now that's flowing through that collective consciousness of one. It's not that everyone is you, but you know the oneness of it because we've all chosen it. We all draw from each other's hearts. We all draw from each other's experiences, and it's like when someone's in flow, it's like not even food. It's absolute joy to flow together with them in the stream of all that is.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. And I think there's going to be more and more explanations made as time goes on with less words and the type of diagram that you came out with, which is actually, some way, it's an easier way to understand it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a pretty shitty diagram actually, and I've got diagrams all over this house that I've been just quickly trying to get it out.
Yeah.
But even, I don't know, it just, that flow happens naturally when we allow. And so really the diagrams could assist in understanding, but there's nothing like being in the flow, and just being around other people who are in the flow puts you in the flow, because we all our Tauruses interact. So if you're with someone that's connected through their heart into that flow, and you tune in together, you're in that flow, and that becomes familiar. The circuitry ignites. It's now running that flow where it hasn't before, and it can maintain that.
Yeah, which is again, getting back to the diagram. This was a small little snapshot that we can understand, because it's so much bigger than that, but just one small little snapshot of Prime Creator and how it started. Like you said, it wasn't just a big bang, it's progression.
Yeah.
And then, but when a person's doing that, what you're talking about, they're actually, when their toroidal field is flowing, like you said, they're actually creating a collective consciousness, because they're going to be magnetizing, like energies. The other thing that comes to mind too is, in this realm, maybe that's the reason that you see of course, the internal union, and we'll call the energies masculine and feminine,
yes,
the divine marriage. But then you're also starting to see it occur in the physicality with two individual incarnations, because they're actually two toroidals that are magnetized, and then it only makes sense that more will come to that. Yeah, that's really incredible. I just got to say too to everybody on the live and on the replay, I put out an announcement today, because for the last 2 weeks I've been watching the show on here, and I've been knocked off 6 times in an hour. Somebody said that you could update Facebook on your handheld, because I don't think it's happening on computers, but I don't know. And they said it worked, but I don't know. I just wanted to say, if that happens, you can always watch them in the Zoom room. So, just gonna keep plugging away and doing the best we can, right? Yvania? Yeah.
That's it. Totally.
Yeah, what I was trying to say is that these type of diagrams, these types of transposing to some type of visual, what you're seeing here is a new book. It's a new method, not a book. It's not a book, it's not a video. It's a new way for us to actually see it.
It's a new way to see it. And during solstice, I had this mission, and it was like, right, I have to do this. I have to. I was birthing through the divine human template, seeing all these grids, what I was doing within that grid work of Earth and the galaxy and all that, and I was told you can take them with you. So I had to put together a visual instead of an energetic, which was a challenge. And a lot of people said, oh, that meditation was lovely. And I thought, well, that's good. That was so much more than a meditation, but I'm happy that you benefited from that, that co-creation that we were doing. So I was bringing people into my flow, into one big flow, into one huge co-creation, and absolutely birthing this this vision that I was given to do for that date. And we had a lot of people, Marita and I, saying, you know, how amazing that experience was. And then I got a lot of people messaging me saying, I feel like I was spontaneously healed. And I'm thinking, they're just seeing their own love reflected back at them, right? They're in the flow. Yeah. So I'd say, you were just in the flow. But the power of that flow that night, and through some of the connecting through the hearts, is the potential for that flow is everything. Since I've been running that flow, my entire body has changed. My entire everything. Yeah. Not only, I mean, we could talk about timelines and everything, and how I've been merging those and how they run through the grids and everything. But that's another.
This explanation that you give actually contains all of that. I mean, it's like Morgan always says, it's a copy, it's a copy, it's a copy. But this is like taking it to a cosmic exponential multiplier. You know, I mean, it's but I get it because the made in the image, you know, we're that original prime creator orb, and then we split, we created two halves, and then it starts to happen.
And then we birth our own creations.
Yeah, and then it starts coming back.
Creations.
It only makes sense. It comes back. It's funny because we're
at
watching.
Each stage, it comes back.
Yeah, and so I'm just saying this as a metaphor and as an example. I'm not saying that Morgan and I are anything. I'm just saying that it was funny because we started watching this series Outlander.
You know? Yeah, I love Outlander.
Just to kind of like take our mind off the energy and let it process with more ease and grace, right? This is her idea and it works. But what she was saying is that they remind her of us, and I'm speaking beyond this incarnation, that we go out and have an experience and then we come back together, and then we go out and have an experience and we come back together, which is really the energetic pattern of the Tellurium.
Folding back in together, folding back in together. Yeah, always folding in back together. And I think right now, with all that's going on and all that we're receiving and all that we are, really, I want to say all that we are rather than what we're receiving, because this changes the way you receive what we've been calling downloads as well. Yeah. Is that we are everything. We always have been. We came in as everything, as full, as whole. And it's not time to be playing small. It's time to come out. We've been saying this for ages. It's time to. There's no ego when you come from the heart. No. There's no ego when you show us your gifts from the heart. There is no ego when you are in your flow, and we need everyone, every single person's gifts are a gift to the one. Yeah. And they are beautiful and unique. And
the other observation, that's a great point. The other observation, whatever you call it, is that's coming to me is the whole narrative or movie that's out there on a collective level. I'm looking at this thing and I'm open to whatever. But as you've explained this is a collective consciousness.
Yeah.
One that came from another, and right?
Yeah.
And so there's
a new creation in the universe. This collective consciousness now of humanity is a new consciousness in a multi-dimensional universe. It's something that hasn't been before. It is the mirror image of that prime creator. This consciousness has become the hub of that beautiful, pure, divine flow in creation. And we've got something so special and unique. And it's not that anyone's better or worse. It's that we're waiting for you to come out and show your gifts. If you're sitting there and you're feeling that what you can't contribute, or that person might be, you might feel that, oh, they know more than I do, or whatever, that's not even relevant. It's not even in the game. It's just get into the flow and bring all of you with you for all.
Yes. So, yeah. So I see this, what you said too about it's always okay. Some choose not to flow back in that moment. You know, that moment can be whatever number of years or whatever linear scale you use. So I see kind of like where we're at based on your explanation. Again, it's a toroidal.
Yeah.
So it's here.
Yeah.
The consciousness, let's just say, was our experience before everyone wakes up, right? Our people start waking up. And then it goes up like a toroidal. One goes that way, one goes that way. One might be 3D and one might be 5D, and that's okay. They're both okay because they're all going to come back together again. But right now we're like up at this spot where they're going like that. And this is where people talk about the two earth, the two different earth consciousness.
It doesn't matter whether you're in 3D or 5D or this realm is all, I mean, the pure prime creative frequency is it, right? So whether you're in 3D, 5D, and true through 3D is really a most amazing place to be. It's physicality. It's going to become the playground, heaven on earth. It's going to be a school for others to experience physicality, because there's so many beings that wish to experience that.
Yeah.
Within a safe environment, within an environment that nurtures, with an environment that gives room for people to fold back further and further to the truth of who they are.
Yeah, and I love the physicality part of it.
Yeah.
Because I know somehow,
some of us won't go to 5D, or there's more layers to Earth, right? So if you don't want to have the physicality and you'd rather have a more experience where you're more of a light body, then that's available. If you want to have, you can have multitudes of experiences. We could split off in many ways, but we will always create with this divine flow in this, within our Taurus field creation. We are in divine flow. No one can come outside of that aren't in divine flow. It's sealed.
Yeah. And we can always go back and dip our toes or our bodies or our mind or our hearts into the flow as we head back out. Because that's really what it seems like. Because like you said, if you go back to the source, it's open. But you can go back to the go back to the
original creation, your point of creation, your point of conception, if you like, within creation, your first creation. Yeah. Your first collective creation.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for coming out, and you have to come out again here soon.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Happy everything's going good for you too.
Thank you. In the flow, everything's good.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is, you know. It really is. I'm thinking about all the stuff that's been going on with me for the last few months, and which has been the web, well, getting our own private stream, getting our own private website, private server, so we don't have these problems getting kicked off censored, suppressed, which I don't see that as a, oh my God, they're trying to do something to me. I don't see it that way. I just see it as my toroidal is going this way and this is the other one, right?
Yeah. So let them both flow.
Yeah. So let them
Let
flow.
them both flow. And
Yeah, that's right.
you already have your vision. You already have your vision.
Exactly.
So now let it flow because it will happen.
And it's no different than a lot of the stories of people that come on this show, whether it be couples or whether it be an individual. Because if I look at the other part of, or the main part of my life, which was my relationship with Morgan, we are in this toroidal. A lot of our friends and family were over here, and we went this way.
Yeah.
And they're going that way, and that's fine because we're all going to come back, right? We're all going to meet again. But this seems
We
to
might
be,
not meet again if we choose not to.
True.
We might choose to, and that's okay too.
But I mean, energetically speaking, as we go, as we fall back. But I'm just saying that this seems to be what's happening. Maybe that's what that split is, the great divide that people talk about. And it's not a moral, ethical, inferiority type thing. It's just a choice.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a choice. Some
It's
people want to stay in this collective consciousness, and some want to go to a collective consciousness that has a little spin to it. And we also know, like you said, there's much more than 5D. So there could be 50% light body, 100% light body, 75% light body, all these other collective consciousnesses.
Yeah. We'll fold back to the source that we choose. So if you want to fold back closer to source, you'll fold back in this what we're creating here with humanity. If you want to fold back to the collective consciousness that you've just come from, that's closest to you, you can fold back to that one. It's a choice. It's a choice. Well, you might decide, I don't know. It's just big. It's a big, beautiful game of choice, preferred, not preferred, and it's an honor to be in divine flow here. And that is my choice.
Yeah.
And that is the choice of so many of us here.
Yeah.
And it's an honor to be part of that.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Many miracles in the moment.
Oh yeah.
Time goes on, So
Revelation after revelation after revelation.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go finish filling out paperwork. And,
Okay.
so we can get our stuff turned in. Looks like Morgan's not leaving, so that's good.
Awesome.
And so next step will be we've gotten some people that have stepped up regarding helping us with the website. Had a couple of people say they could support us in other ways. So it's a critical time. It feels critical to be human, but you know what? I know it's okay. And again, it's just the split, right? It's
allowing them to be in their divine flow that they are. This is the energy here. The divine flow is here. Anything that's not in that flow is off.
Yeah.
Out. It doesn't work. It gets spat out and fold back to another place. We're in divine flow here.
Yeah, we've experienced
the creations that are in that will flow.
And may everybody be
may everybody's creation be in divine flow that choose.
Right. Take care.
Love you. Bye.
Love you too. Bye-bye.